the people I speak to on the podcast, I always imagine you in my head. She's a mom, she's at home, she's creative, she has an awesome idea, she wants to do something with this, and she'd love to make money doing it. I think if we were ever in a time where women can have ideas, think about them, grow a business, reach an audience, and do these things,
Right.
like the time is now. And
Right.
things are only going to get better. You start with like a small dream, but then when you start to see it, you're like, what could this business be? Everybody, I have a really special podcast episode for you today at The Product Boss. And so I'm Jacqueline Snyder, as you know, your host of The Product Boss. And my super special guest, like probably the most special guest I've ever had, is my mom, Lydia Fronsky. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Hi, daughter. Hi, Jacqueline.
She's so nervous to be on, but I'm so excited that you're on because you are actually the original Product Boss. Like, you are the inspiration of the Product Boss. So I thought that it would be great to kind of bring you on the show and talk to you a little bit about it, because if you've been following the show for a while or you've been listening to the podcast, you know I often talk about the fact that I believe, especially for women, if we have the ability to make our own money, to be independent, we also can choose the lives that we want, right? And so you were my inspiration for that. So thank you for being my inspiration.
Thank you for having me on today. I'm glad I was your inspiration, and look what you've created. An amazing Product Boss business.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes.
All right, so I wanted to kind of just jump in and just give a little bit of background. So I'm the oldest of 5 kids.
Correct.
You've had 5 children.
I have.
Congratulations. Not
Thank
sure
you.
how you did it.
I did it. Somehow I did it. Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of want to go back to thinking about sort of like your origin story. So everybody knows that I'm first generation American and you came over from London, England. So much of my story is based off of you always being in support of me.
Right.
And I say that because I know when I was growing up, you were the mom of 5 kids and you were not in a very great marriage, and you decided you couldn't leave the marriage, right? Because you weren't making money. I'm just digging right in here. But as I was growing up, I was trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I make my own money? What college do I go to? All that. And I'll say that you were the first person that believed in me and was able to kind of like step in and help me make decisions that weren't typical. And one of those is that I got into a 4-year college, and my first year into this UC school, I said, hey, Mom, I think I want to leave and drop out of this college and go to art school, which was a 4-year degree.
Right.
But I said I wanted to art school.
Right.
So,
I remember you having some friends that were maybe at that school, and
Yeah.
you wanted to pursue the same path maybe they were doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, go for it.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things that I remember my friends would say, like, your parents are letting you drop out of a UC to go to art school. And it was Otis College of Art and Design. It was a top school for fashion design. But let's just dig into that a little bit and sort of like your support of me and saying, like, yeah, go follow your passions.
Right. I guess because where I came from, growing up in England and not having like the knowledge of all the all the choices that maybe I could have had if my parents had like gave me some ideas of what passion I should follow, because I was very creative. I thought, like, because I was very creative, that you now deciding you wanted to go to like maybe be an art school, why not,
Yeah.
Go for it. You have it in you, so go,
Because it wasn't that your parents ever said you shouldn't go to art school. You just kind of went more of a typical way.
They didn't encourage it. They didn't, I just felt like every one of my friends became, at that time, secretaries, shorthand typists was back in the day. And my mother had done that, and so I just wanted to be like my mother, like do what she was doing. No one said to me like, are you crazy? That's something you shouldn't be doing. You should go to art school. It was never presented to me like that, but everybody in my class was doing that, so that seemed to be the right thing to do.
Right.
Which I hated, because it wasn't the right thing for me.
Right.
Because I'm creative, so I should have gone to art school. So when you wanted to go to art school, go for it,
Right.
Right?
Yeah, so I think, and I would say that was probably one of the first like encouraging bits of what other people would say was normal, and that you use kind of from your experience that you're like, go to art school, like pursue your passion.
Right, your passion. You're good at it. You from a very young age you were like painting and drawing, and I could see you had it in you. Not everybody could sit down and paint a portrait or somebody, you know.
Yeah.
You could. So you had it in you. So
what would you say like you had in you growing up? Like what was your? Because I think you and I have always differed in our creativity.
Right.
What would you do as a kid?
Just going to school in London at that time. As a girl, they put the girls in sewing classes and domestic science, which was cookery schools, and the boys went to woodworking. Right, and I really enjoyed sewing classes, and I think from that experience of the school offering sewing classes, I remember making my first rag doll, and I wanted to make her doll's clothes, so I believe my mother got me a sewing machine, and that's how I ended up with a sewing machine. No one taught me how to use it. I had to figure it out myself, and from that moment on, that's what I enjoyed to do, is sewing and creating.
Okay, so because I remember when I was in I was in art school, but then we went in the fashion program, and they were teaching us pattern making and sample sewing and all the things for fashion, and I would look at you sewing things together. I was like, who taught you how to make patterns?
Nobody. No, and they still don't teach me. I just figure it out myself.
Yeah, which I love, right? Like as a creative.
Right.
And you did it all before Pinterest and Etsy.
Right. There was nothing like that. And actually, when you were born, then I got really more creative, you know. You were my first child, and I made you pretty clothing. You know, I like to decorate on items, so I used to buy a sweatshirt and paint it and decorate it, and then maybe attach some fabric to make it into a dress. And took your socks and added kind of trim to it.
That's what you did that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I'd have these like cute socks that are like so 1980s with the fold over, and you would put there was ribbons around it.
I mean, I could go out and buy you a dress, but I just enjoyed making it.
Yeah.
You know? As you call me, a maker. You know.
As you call me.
I'm a maker.
A maker. I am a maker. Well, you are, right?
I love to make. You know. I mean, I don't get satisfaction if I was just to go buy it. I like to make it. To create. I'm still making. You know.
Yeah, we're always like, we just threw like a first birthday party, and you know, I would be like, well, go order it on Amazon, and you're like, I'm gonna
make the banners, I'm gonna make the gift, I'm gonna make the Halloween costumes, I'm just gonna make everything that you need. You know?
So you know, I think part of the story, and I don't know, you know, I think what I'm trying to share with the audience is sort of my background, that I was always sort of destined for here, and also what I was raised in. So you know, you all back in the 80s were in the denim and fashion industry. Right.
We definitely were in the garment industry, but that didn't excite me so much to be to sell the items, you know.
Yeah.
I would take the items and do something with it, you know.
A maker who doesn't like to sell, that makes a lot of sense. It does, trust me, you're not alone.
I don't want to know I just want to make, you know.
Yeah, maker's got to make.
Yeah. Let somebody else do all the paperwork, you know.
Yeah. So, because I remember growing up, you know, so my dad had manufactured denim.
Right.
And then you all had different retail stores downtown LA.
Right.
And you would sell to people in these stores.
Right, exactly. It's in the I guess in the 80s, it's really hot. Jeans, Jordache jeans, Sassoon jeans, all those Chemin de Fer jeans, all those companies. It's all about the pocket, the back pocket with all the embroidery. You know, that was the business back then, you know?
Yeah.
And jeans never go out, you know, it's amazing. That's one item that will never go out.
So I just wanted to talk about that because I was raised, I remember, with like shipping boxes, like big cardboard boxes.
I used to lay you in a Jordache box, you know?
Yeah.
That's where you took your naps.
Yeah, so it was
jeans.
So it was like a box. It was a big shipping box. There was denim folded inside because you guys were packing and shipping and all that.
Men's pants.
And then you would lay me down in there, and that's where I would be held.
That was your crib.
That was my crib. So, you know, I remember growing up in the wholesale world because you would even take me downtown LA and we would buy clothes from wholesale distributors.
Right.
And I didn't understand that, like, you didn't buy 6 of everything.
Right. You wanted a pair of shoes, we bought a dozen because you had to buy a dozen. So you had one in every color. You know?
So there was like a minimum order quantity to buying wholesale downtown. And so my mom would always be like, why can't we shop at the mall? And you're like, because we can buy wholesale, and you can get 6.
No, 12.
12. A pack of 12.
It doesn't.
So I think like growing up in that industry, like I understood it back then, and you were in it, but like you said, you didn't love to sell because you would sell at swap meets, right? In-person markets.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, I went along to help the husband at the time. He would sell at the swap meets. They were pretty hot, the swap meets, and jeans were all lined up on the tables, and people would flock in and buy them all up. You know, they came in from, this Mexico and take them back over there to sell them. You know,
right.
We'd sell like damaged ones just because there wasn't enough to sell. Everybody was selling them.
Right, because people like to buy like off market or whatever.
Yeah. So.
And because we're in Southern California.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's then fast forward to the fact that you have 5 children.
Mm-hmm.
All of us 9.5 to just born. So like 5 kids under 10.
5 within 10 years. Yes.
Okay. But you always made things. So
I always made things. I made your, before you were born, I made your cribs. All the decorations for the crib. The bumper pads, which you're not allowed to have anymore. The comforter, which you're not allowed to have anymore. The pillows, which you're not allowed to have anymore.
So
I had fun making them.
What was the first thing you sold? Because I know you always made things, and I know a lot of people experience this. If someone goes up to them and says like, wow, you're so talented, you should sell this, right? Did people ever say that to you?
No one ever said that.
They didn't say that?
That I should sell. I mean, I made hair bands. Maybe I made them as presents for your friends and stuff. I gave them as gifts.
Okay.
But the biggest item I did make that people started ordering from me was, I think you and your brothers at the time wanted beanbag chairs. And so I said, okay, I don't even know what's inside a beanbag chair. So I went and bought one, opened it up, and it's like full of styrofoam beads. And I thought, okay, they want them, but how can I make it different? I don't want to copy somebody else's design. So I created my own beanbag chair. And I created a beanbag chair that was like clear vinyl, so you could see in to the beads. You could see the beads. Well, I didn't like white beads, so I learned how to color the beads. I made them pink, I made them blue, I made them yellow, I mixed them up. And then I learned how to decorate the outside of the vinyl, the clear vinyl, and personalize them with the kids' names. And because I had 5 children, and there was always someone, coming to pick up their kid from our house, they saw them, they liked them, they started ordering them. So that was really the start of my main business.
So they didn't say, you should sell these. They said, can I buy one from you?
They wanted to buy them. They loved them.
It's a better conversation.
Yeah, and some were fabric, and most of them were like clear.
Right. So that was your company. It was called Sit On It.
You named it.
I did name it.
She came up with the name. She's really good with names.
So I think that was the fun thing.
What should I call them? She said, Sit On It.
Sit On It.
Sit On It, yeah.
I think part of the thing and part of my superpower is that I was raised with entrepreneurs. So, and I say this because I don't know how many families, while driving in the minivan, are having conversations about what to name their mom's company,
right,
of what she's going to sell, right?
Right.
So I think there was always that kind of creative back and forth of us talking and discussing and thinking about like, oh, what if I did this, or what if I created that, and what should I name it, and where should I sell it? And people are, because I think we talked about pricing, like how do we price it?
Right, how much is it? It's like I didn't understand, how much do I price an item? It's very complicated because it was a unique item.
Yeah,
so.
and was I in high school when you started it?
Mizelle was in pretty much around kindergarten, so you were 10 years old probably.
When you started the beanbags?
Yeah.
Oh, because it was Beanie Baby time.
Oh yeah, so one of my beanbag chairs had little pockets around so they could put the beanies in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that because, what you did is you saw like what's happening, what's a trend in the market, and how can I create something like you wanted, which is like your own invention.
Right.
But then you were like, how do I make this relevant to something that parents and kids need, which is where do you put all the Beanie Babies? So it was the Beanie Baby beanbag.
Right. And it was a dad chair too, so he could put his beer inside it in the pocket.
That was alternative marketing.
Yeah.
So I just remember like having this conversation. So I was definitely in high school.
Yes.
When it was happening, and I remember you having huge garbage cans, and so what was interesting is that the internet was kind of just starting. It was like AOL dial-up, right?
Right.
It was like doo-doo-doo, right? And so it wasn't like you had at your fingertips, where do I find styrofoam beads and then all these.
I had this Asian, like, what do you call it, directory book for overseas from China. So I looked through there to look for my products I needed.
Yellow Pages, if anyone remembers the Yellow
right.
Pages.
That's all I had. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have social media.
Yeah.
I had to like figure it all out myself, you know.
Which I will say you're probably one of the original people, like problem solver to me, because you've always problem solved something, and
Right.
in a creative way, and it could be from whether you're making something from, you know, to exist, or like, oh, like you would write on the light switches like on and off, and you'd write arrows like on the thing, because like you were just like, this is a problem, how do I solve it? Let me do the most practical thing.
Right,
here.
right. I think I still do that now.
So yeah, so I think, you know, so with the beanbag chairs, what I remember seeing is that you had an idea. You're like, I have this idea. It was a product that already existed on the market,
Mm-hmm.
and you thought to yourself, how do I create this but improve it, like redesign it? And the quote that I always share with a lot of people is, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to redesign the wheel. And so the idea of that is kind of exactly what you did. You're like, beanbag chair, but I want to make it special. What's different? Making them clear out of vinyl, see-through, and then eventually you got to coloring the beads. And how do I make that happen?
Right, and then decorating. I used to buy window clings and put them on the clear vinyl as decorations. And then I got into painting them. I wanted different images. I wanted sports balls or Disney characters or things like that, and I painted them. And then it's too much, like it's a lot of work, right, when you're doing it yourself. And then it was getting it screen printed, right? So I had to figure out each, as I grew, I had to figure out where I should go get this all done. And then eventually bringing in flowers from China, silk flowers, and attaching them to the beanbag chair. So it was a big selection I had, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was ready to put them in a store. And I carried my beanbag chair to a store. It was called Bellini's. They were in the Valley, and they loved the product. And so they would fax me orders, and each beanbag chair was personalized with a child's name. So it was a lot of, I used to sew at night. You guys went to sleep. I got busy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to kind of back into that, you started this, you kind of fell into it, right? You started it because you thought, I've got kids.
My kids wanted them.
They
Yeah.
want a beanbag chair.
Yeah.
But what if I try something else?
Right.
So you went and you sourced like
Yeah.
the vinyl, and you did all those things, and you kind of started
Right.
designing. And then, like you said, you had the original people, your original customers were, it's kind of word of mouth, people coming to your house, seeing them,
Right.
experiencing them, and saying, hey,
Yes. Will you make me one?
Will you make me one?
Or well, the good thing was they might have 2 or 3 kids, so they ordered 3 at a time.
Right.
You know?
so it kind of went word
Yeah.
of mouth, because
Yeah.
then they would buy them,
Right.
they would be using them, and then
they
someone
would be in
else.
somebody else's house.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So it was really.
And I
spreading.
remember huge garbage bins, and you'd pour the beads in, and then you'd be pouring paint in, and you'd be mixing the colors, and I remember you like testing all the colors, and it was all over our house.
One day they spilt into the swimming pool.
There's nothing worse than styrofoam
Yeah,
beads.
styrofoam fly everywhere. Anyway,
But
having it's like an oil.
but our house, our
Yeah.
house kind of turned into this like huge maker studio, because these were
Yes.
really large. They were like the size of our chairs.
Right.
And so I also remember, and this is sort of when I coach product people and I talk to my audience now, so much of what I saw you do is what I kind of share and experience. And so, for example, I remember you renting a U-Haul truck,
Mm-hmm.
you by yourself,
By myself, yeah.
dragging all these like beanbags in.
I would drive an hour to this location where I could pick up styrofoam beads. So it was an hour away. My kids were in school, driving a U-Haul, getting them to load the truck up, driving it back. And then where do I store? You know, the bedroom, my youngest daughter's bedroom was like, I couldn't even see her bed anymore. So I had to do something about like, where do I store these styrofoam beads? And so I bought the, what do you call it? Like the moving truck
like a huge storage container.
Yeah, the container, like it was a used moving truck that didn't, it was getting sold, and we just bought the container. And thank God I had a space in the back of my backyard to put it, and I used that as, storage for my styrofoam beads and to color them and everything.
So when you started, did you think that this was eventually going to turn into a business? Or were you just
I didn't think of it as a business, but I like working from home,
Right.
and I was happy with just doing it for the community.
Yeah.
I couldn't think expanding it or going to China to make them, because I needed that other person. I think I needed somebody else to say, hey, let's take this to the next level.
Okay. So
I wasn't that person to take it to the next level. I just stayed in my little maker mode.
And this is all pre-Etsy, right? This
Yeah,
is all pre-anything online.
pre-Etsy, and then, like I said, I did start supplying some stores with my product.
Right, and so that's the part I thought was really cool, was that when Bellini, the first store, that you thought they only had one store.
I just went into a store that was local, and I showed them the product. They loved it. They started faxing me the orders.
Yeah.
And then I would get another Bellini call me. They were in Beverly Hills. I said, okay. So they wanted them now. And then another location called me, like Costa Meister, and they used to send a truck to my house to pick up the bags when I finished them. And then another store in, I think it was Vegas, a Bellini called me. I said, how many Bellinis are there? I hadn't done that kind of investigation. Like, there was 51 of them in the United States. They were a franchise, you know?
Yeah. So part of my issue, part of my childhood trauma, right, was watching how talented you were and are, and that you had this opportunity to grow it, but how you, and I think this is why I'm so passionate now, like for my audience and everyone who's listening, is kind of like making, you always, like I started this, you always believed in me and saw more that I could do. And I believed in you, but it was very hard for you to believe in yourself. And you were very afraid of what would happen if this business that I'm making with my own two hands actually blew up. It would feel like it was out of control. Would you say that's kind of accurate?
I thought like every beanbag I did was so so personalized. Like, what color bead did you want it? Did you want it mixed? It had the child's name on it. Everything had to be done.
It's very custom.
It was very custom. Yeah, it was a custom item. How do you mass produce a custom item?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that was scary, like to take it out of my hands to do it. Say someone came over and said, "Oh, I love your idea. Let's go and do it." Maybe it could have been done, but no one really came over and said they wanted that.
And I think I was too young because I hadn't been through fashion school yet. But
where were you when I needed you?
I mean, I was learning from you to then eventually be able to help.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it was this kind of like push and pull of like, wow, like you're really talented. This could be something. I think even last year, my brother, we're all like in our 30s and 40s now, was like, we should bring it back. But you were hitting this element of growth. So, and then you said, and I want to just kind of go back into this, is that you said, well, you didn't feel like you felt like you needed somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so can we kind of talk about that a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay. So did you feel like you were only the talent, like you were talented, but you don't know how to run a business? Like, was there a lot of like insecurity around that?
Yeah, I think I'm the creative one. I was that part of it, and I needed that other part. That okay, let's do this. We need to do all the, let's say the bookkeeping. Let's take it to another level.
Like the business stuff.
The business side. I'm not the business side, and so that's where I got stuck.
Right.
So my recommendation for anybody that is the maker and they really believe in their item is to go find that business person, especially now you have the internet that,
What if I was the business person?
Now?
No, not to you.
Back then, yes. If you were back then,
I'm saying they have podcasts and education now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't have anything. There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
There was nobody helping a maker grow the business. I grew it as best I knew how to in my own way, but I need that other person to step in, and say, wow, you got great product here, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Let me just design. That's why I am the designer,
Right. I think that, and so I agree and I disagree with you. I believe I used to think I needed a business partner in my other company in Designer Consulting Co-op. I was 26 when I started it, and as I was growing it, I just kept thinking, I don't know enough about business. If only I understood what, like you're saying, like bookkeeping, profit and loss statements, understanding taxes, hiring employees, all the business stuff feels very intimidating, and we all feel like maybe we need somebody in business to teach us that. And I remember saying this in front of one of my clients. He was a man, and I said, I wish I knew more about business. Sometimes I think I should get a business partner because they know more about business. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I was like, what do you mean? This guy, by the way, was paying me $10,000 a month to build and run his fashion line, right? And to help him sell. And so I'm telling someone who's paying me $120,000 a year as a consultant.
Right.
I don't know anything about business. And he looked at me, he's like, you do know something about business. Like, you're an entrepreneur. I have the entrepreneurial mindset. Because we can learn all of those things. And I think I was talking to you about this before this interview. If you had started your company in a time of Etsy where it tracks sales and helps you with paying taxes, right? If you had QuickBooks and all these like softwares and stuff like that that could do a lot of this, and then you had education like podcasts or digital
definitely.
Courses.
Didn't have anything. Yeah. With all the knowledge now, I mean, I have to go buy a book, you know?
Right, you had to buy a book.
Yeah.
Like how to start a product-based business for dummies.
Right. Yeah.
But so I think I just challenge you on that, because while you felt like you needed somebody else, really you just didn't have the access to the resources, I believe. And probably also the support.
Right.
So I think that support is a really big deal, and you've always been that to me, so I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Because a lot of the things I've done, I've run by you, and you've been like, go do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you're going to be okay.
So, you know, I think there's that, and I do want to say, like, in the separation with my co-founder, and this specifically, I mean, I was crying, I was a mess, and I felt like I didn't have the ability to do this by myself, or to carry a business of this size, or like support people. And you were like, what'd you say to me? Do you remember?
Yes, you can, Dada. Yes, you can. You want it. If you want it, you'll go get it.
Yeah.
You'll do it.
Yeah. So even with this, you're like, I don't know why you're feeling like this. You're going to be okay. So thank you.
Right. I believe in you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really doing well.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Mm.
So thank you. And so I think the support maybe you didn't feel like you had, you've given me,
Good.
which has allowed for me to make such an impact in this world, and you being that inspiration. One thing I think, you know, another thing that comes up for a lot of people, and you probably felt this way, is like you had 5 kids.
I did.
And you were very much a single parent, because my dad was pretty absent from it. And so a lot of people feel very pulled between how to raise children and how to grow a business. What advice do you have being like the super mom of 5 children? And
well,
11
I
grandkids?
always placed my kids first. That was the priority for me. And like I said, I didn't touch, let's say, my sewing machine until they were tucked away in bed at night. So I went long hours into the nighttime, you know?
Yeah.
Or when they were at school and I had some hours there, I would do it, but never really around when they were there, you know?
Right.
Because I was doing the mom thing, you know?
Right.
And that was number one for me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Any recommendations that you have to anyone else that's out there right now, like that's feeling pulled? So do it in fringe hours, right?
Right, for me. I mean, I had 5 children. Not too many people have 5 kids, you know, maybe 2 kids, 3 kids, you know.
Yeah.
I just, so it was a lot. I mean, I had so much to do with them. After school was like busy. They're all in different sports. You're in dance, ice skating, painting lessons, all those different things, going to friends, picking them up, everything.
Did you have
I felt like.
I like to tell people like they have their foot on the gas. They can go as fast or as slow as they want.
Right. So, some people can go fast, you know,
Yeah.
that's how quickly you want to climb. But for me, it was steady. I was steady, you know, steady and sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you chose to not.
I chose not. I mean, it's not like I was a single mom and I had to raise these kids, so it's very important for me to, you know, like I need to put food on my kids' table, you know. There was a husband in the house and he put food on your table, so
Right.
this is more like I can take my time doing what I want to do. I didn't have the pressures. But if I was a single mom, then maybe I would have made it like into business and
Yeah.
kids go make your own dinner, you know?
Did you consider it a hobby or a side hustle? What did you consider? Because it was a business, because people were paying you.
I would say I was having fun with my hobby, you know?
And making some extra money.
And making extra, I called it pocket money, you know?
Okay.
So, but I made a lot of money though.
You did. Because how
Right.
much were the beanbags? They were 100 and...
I think back then a good maybe 125, you know?
Yeah,
and
which
it
felt
was-
like $250 now.
Yeah,
I
it was a
think.
lot, you know, and I made a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like I said, everyone was handcrafted, and I didn't put the pressure on me but in different circumstances, maybe I would have had the pressure, but for me, I didn't have that pressure. It was just, this is what I enjoy. This was my passion.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't making that, I went on to make something else, because eventually I did, I stopped making the beanbag chairs because I wanted to concentrate on my younger daughter, like going off to club soccer, I didn't want to miss that opportunity of traveling with her. And then when I was ready, to come back, I just wanted a smaller product, because I, was dealing with a big product. Now I wanted a little product. So I made something else.
What'd you make?
I just started with baby blankets,
Like this. They were bigger.
They were smaller, And I still to this day make custom gifts for people. I just like the personalized gifts. So I still make, and if I want to work hard, I work hard. If I don't, I don't.
So I do want to skip forward a little, because I
Yeah.
remember then when I started Designer Consulting Co-op. I was consulting people, helping people grow businesses, and you were getting into baby blankets.
Right.
They were like the minky fabric baby blankets.
Right.
And I remember at that point we had talked about it and said, you do not have to make it all yourself. You do not need to cut all the fabric yourself. In fact, we can
Right.
take your fabric to a cutter.
Right.
Were you go ahead?
No. I mean, eventually on my beanbag chairs, I did take my vinyl to a cutter.
Yeah.
I did. I did relieve myself of some of the things that I had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I hired your friends to help me.
Yeah. They would load in and load out.
Pay them like $6 an hour.
Because that was minimum wage back then.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So exactly. So I think
I was hiring in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Asking for help
Yeah.
and paying someone for that help.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times, I talk to makers about this as well, where it's still handmade.
Mm-hmm.
It could still be a custom product, but what part of it can you scale, right? What
Right.
part of it can you outsource to scale, so you don't have to do every element yourself? And cutting the vinyl, it was sticky. I remember how you had to lay it out
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of all the air bubbles and the way you would cut it. So then taking it to a professional that could cut stacks of them.
Very sticky, yeah.
So it's so traumatic, I think,
Yeah.
for both of us.
Yeah.
And then you would pull the pieces, and then you would create the product.
The design, yeah.
Long term, you probably could have hired someone to sew, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll skip to the future, where at this point I'm in the industry now. I understand manufacturing and outsourcing. I'm in downtown LA in the fashion industry, and we started talking about sourcing your fabric wholesale instead of buying it from retail stores.
Right.
Which I learned from you guys because I was always
Yeah.
in the industry.
Yes.
And then cutting, we had to look for people who could cut and sew blankets, because when you're looking for that, they're bigger pieces of fabric, so you need to find a manufacturer to do that. I don't think you ever really did that though, right?
No, I just really made them for gifts and
Yeah.
people just custom amongst the family and
Yeah.
friends, and just your word of mouth. Nothing big.
Yeah, but we were talking about it earlier,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
were starting to move the blankets, but you were selling them on Etsy.
Yeah, and I bought a lot of equipment. I have a sublimation printer. I have a heat press. I have a 10-needle embroidery sewing machine. I have a sewing machine, and I have a vinyl cutter. So I have all the machines in my workroom. And then I started a second business. One day I went into a local boutique and offered them my embroidery services, because I was really into embroidery, especially the blankets needed names of babies embroidered on them. And the woman, she brought out a Moroccan French market basket and said, "Can you paint on this?" And I basically said to her, "I can do anything, I'll figure it out, So then I started my Moroccan French market basket business, where I painted people's initials and painted the stripes that were very popular over the last couple of years. And then it was because of you, when after I painted 12 of these baskets for the Kardashian family,
For their Easter baskets
for
a
the
couple
Easter
years ago.
basket. Someone placed an order for 12 of these for all the Kardashian girls and the mom. That you said to me, "Mom, let's open you an Etsy shop." So that's when I got involved with Etsy.
Yeah.
So you pushed me in the right direction.
So you weren't selling the blankets on Etsy to start? It was after.
Oh, I did actually. Yeah, I
You
did
were.
have very quietly.
But I think I told you to
Yes.
put the baskets
Then
on.
we did the baskets.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was cool about that was that you were already interacting with a retail shop.
Right.
So to just talk about this in a backwards way, you've never had a website.
No.
And I think one of the things for startup businesses, people who make something and they want to sell it, a big deal is how do you have direct connection with your customer immediately? So for you, for example, word of mouth has been really important for you. And I would also say that connections. Like you've always walked into stores, as shy as you are, because I know this is also nerve-wracking for you a little.
Right.
But you've walked in the stores and you've kind of suggested, hey, like I do this, or I sell these, or oh, I can do that, right? And so even that suggestion of like, I can do embroidery, why don't you hire me? And then that woman coming to you, and this was a big store. Was it in Calabasas or
Calabasas, yes.
Yeah.
It's called the French
store?
Yeah, the French store, yes.
Yeah. I'm from Calabasas.
Yeah.
Kardashians, before Kardashians were the Kardashians.
They lived down the road,
yes.
Yeah. That's their customer.
Before they were, before we've been there. But anyways, so what I want to say is like and then what was great for you is you could sell immediately because you had a retail partner. So it was like wholesale or consignment where you could bring the product to the store and it had they would buy it from you or they would have it and then they have foot traffic customers.
Right.
So you weren't reliant or waiting passively, let's say, on like, not passively, but you have never had to build a social media or any of that because you found the direct customer, whether the beanbag chairs, it was word of mouth.
Right, word of mouth, yeah.
You would do...
I did shows like, street,
street fairs.
And shows,
I remember you doing them like at schools for like Hanukkah and
boutique,
Christmas shows,
Christmas boutiques.
And then you found a retail partner.
Right.
So that was like the easiest way. And then I think now with the French market baskets and its happiness designs, but you had made that connection and then you thought, like you said, I can do anything. So you kind of did the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
You didn't have to go through a huge phone book.
I had to just figure it out.
The internet.
Then I started bringing my own baskets in from Morocco. It's like, okay, where do I get these from? Yeah. Now you got the internet.
Right.
So much better.
But you're so resourceful because you're like, I'm going to go to the source. I'm not going to buy these on Amazon and then trying to resell them and upsell.
Right. I'm a great sourcer, so if anybody needs sourcing, I'm here.
Okay, we've got you a new job.
Yeah, I would do that. It's fun.
I know. I'm always like, if you need a detective or someone to investigate anything, like you're so good. Like you just keep going.
Right.
So we opened up the Etsy shop. And do you remember the advice I gave you when you were feeling very overwhelmed by all the orders coming in because you did such a custom thing where they could pick the basket, they could pick the colors,
the initials, different size baskets I had. So I like to offer an assortment, but I was really good because I just stayed to one product. So you advised me.
Yes,
let's just stay with one product, concentrate on that, and I listened to your advice. Now you're giving me advice, so
and you're listening.
I'm listening because she's the boss, boss lady. So I stayed with one product. I didn't bring anything else into it
because you really wanted to. Like there's times where you see stuff and you're like, I want to make something.
Let me add some lining to this basket. Why make my life so complicated? Keep it simple. So I kept to that, and that was a great advice you gave me.
But what about on that? So a big part that's like kind of overwhelming to people, especially with custom, especially with Etsy buyers because they're very particular, is all the selections and choices. But what did you see in terms of a trend? I'm kind of leading you here. But what did you see? Like, how did you minimize your painting time? Do you remember what I told you to do with painting?
Oh, I mean, let's say I had 6 baskets on a table, let's say. I mean, I would put 6 out, and if white had to get painted on the stripes, I did them all at one time,
Right.
I mean, I had my, that would made sense because I was doing it anyway.
Right.
So.
But we were talking about it because it was like instead of every time you get an order, dreading the order, because we all know
I didn't dread the orders.
Right, but other people do.
I enjoyed it.
It comes in and then you're like, oh, I have to get this out.
Right.
You did have a lot of trips planned.
When they needed another basket for the Kardashians and they needed it for the morning and they're giving me the order at like 7:00 at night. Like, okay, you're gonna have to pay me all night to stay up and paint the basket.
You had the blow dry to dry too.
I had to get it. It was terrible. I mean, it's like, okay, give me, I don't know, $300, for painting all night.
You hear that, Kris Jenner?
I could have charged $1,000. This woman wanted it in the morning for her store, but whatever. I did it.
So what I was gonna say though is from a customization standpoint, on Etsy, when you have a blue and white striped basket as the visual,
right?
Do people go and buy the green and white striped basket, or they tend to buy what they see?
They buy what they see.
Yeah.
You've got to put up the product that they want to see it.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is like one of the things from a customization standpoint, I said, well, if a lot of people are buying pink and white and that's the trend, have the pink and white painted or prepped.
Right.
On the baskets that you're showing.
Right.
to minimize the
Right,
customization.
get them, yes. But I had a big selection, so I could have like not given them such a big selection and made my life easier, but I like to give them choices. But
You and a lot of people.
I know, but if I did it today, yeah, maybe I could have cut it down by half.
Yeah.
It's like my suitcase to Europe. I could have taken half a suitcase, not the full one.
You know. Oh, that's a whole other story. So I think the part that I love and like what you're saying here is that as you've gone through the years of being a maker, and you did the baby blankets, and you've done so many different things, and then you found these baskets, and they were very much a trend at the time,
Right.
and then the customization part of it, and that you were able to scale it on using Etsy. So would you consider that you did start a business?
Yeah, definitely.
So now you could say you're...
When I had a shop, Etsy shop, that's the business.
Okay.
Yeah, and like you said, they were taking like the taxes and stuff
Yeah.
from the customer, which made my life a lot easier. So it was fine. That was good.
Good.
Yeah.
So I love this
Yeah.
because I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you, darling.
I did cry a little. Because I think as a child and watching you and knowing you had such potential, but then you felt like you didn't. But what I wanted to say is because you said when I was younger and you had to sit on it, if I had a business partner. But then you did create another business and your baskets were $150.
Yeah, 175. Yeah,
So
180.
more expensive than the
Yeah,
beanbag chairs.
Right.
So you're still selling a almost $200 product.
Right.
So you're still selling this. You're still kind of making the same amount of money if that less effort. You're not weaving the baskets yourself.
Right. Not sewing. Yeah. Right.
And that you could say you're a business owner.
And it kept me at home, which I always like to be like making at home. You know, I always
Right.
felt like I was making money, and it was at home, so I was there for my children. So I
Right.
needed that. You know.
And then we all moved out of the house.
And then you moved out of the house, and I moved out too.
And then then you have like in your house you have the middle room is your work studio.
Yeah, I like
And
having
that's where
all
you
the
make it
equipment. I will always go out and buy my own equipment. You
Yeah.
know, so I like having everything under my own roof.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm proud of you because saying that you're a business owner, because what I wanted to say is like there's so many things that we get in our way and we say this is why I'm not this or I've got this hurdle. But what's amazing about living in the time that we're in right now is that you have instant access to people through social media,
Amazing,
right?
yeah.
You can post and
Yeah.
reach everybody.
And you can source out for people even if you wanted to hire anybody.
You can
know?
source.
Like, hey, I have a business. Anybody want to be a partner even, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do it yourself. I mean, if you
don't.
really feel like you can't do it yourself, then you need to go get that other person.
Would you say though that like
I needed that other person.
But with the baskets, do you need another person or do you?
No,
No.
that didn't need another person.
But that's what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah.
That even now, with all the resources you have,
Right.
you could have easily gotten the bean bags up on Etsy and sold them.
Oh yeah, if that was the time of putting them on Etsy, it would have been a better time. Yeah, because I would have had like, hey,
yeah,
it's just easy. You
and
know?
I don't even know if you know now, but there's other platforms like for wholesale. So you know how I would always with my cups, I had to have a showroom.
Right. Yeah.
Now there's online platforms that connect you, the seller, to a buyer at a retail store.
Oh, okay.
So you even could like sell
Right.
wholesale kids products by putting them up on this platform.
Right.
And then retailers all around the world can find you.
Yeah,
in order for
it's
you.
a much better time.
Yeah.
As a maker.
So would you then
Yes,
maybe
seller.
change your advice a little that they don't need a
Oh,
business partner?
yeah. Looking at back then, I
Yes.
did, but back now because I did experience having that Etsy shop and having the customer on the other side of my computer, let's say.
Yeah.
It was easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then
I could do it whenever I wanted to do it. No one was watching me, or it's like I put the terms out when you're going to get your item.
Yeah. And I think my recommendation to people, if they wanted to grow and scale something that's handmade and custom, is, and you can tell me if you agree with this, is, and you kind of had done this, is either to hire someone initially to do your production work. So someone who would do the painting for you,
Right.
Getting the orders and doing the painting, or someone to do your fulfillment. So meaning like putting them in the box and shipping them or taking them somewhere.
Right.
Would you say there's anyone else you need? Like, because I know you love to make, so it's going to be very hard
it's
to pull away from
Yeah,
it.
right. Because I love to make. I want to be that person that does that. But whatever, it's fine. You can definitely get the. You can hire those people definitely.
Yeah.
People want to work. So.
And I want to say, like, I completely understand how like so many people come, because if they're seeing this interview, like you're a maker that wants to make.
I want to make.
And you'd actually rather make than
so
sell.
it just like fulfills me. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So I totally,
that passion.
Get the maker's got to make and wanting, and not necessarily wanting to sell because you prefer the process of making, but it does feel good when people start to buy and
right.
and
And if
money.
you're making to make money and you want to grow, then you definitely need to hire the other people to do the little bits and pieces that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, and I love is like right now my sister-in-law asked you to do Halloween costumes for the boys.
Oh yeah, I just made okay, I can make anything. What do you want? Prime?
So they were both Prime bottles. So you made
right, it's like a Gatorade bottle, right? But now it's fashionable for the kids to drink Prime. It's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's very popular and it's around the world, I think, because we were in
Yeah.
London and the kids there are drinking Prime. So I said, she thought that I could just like put Prime on a t-shirt. I said, that's not a Halloween costume.
Oh no, you made the whole thing.
I need to make them the costume. So I made them into bottles,
And then what was interesting is then she showed a friend, and then that friend said to you,
"Oh my God, you've got to make me."
So you could have made money right then and there.
I could have, but I said, no, thank you. I'm not interested in making Halloween costumes.
So I just think it's like really interesting. Like if you're creative and you put yourself out there, and other people are talking about your product, right? Like other people are sharing, which is word of mouth. So far, it's been friends and family that talk about it, and they're excited about it. Then you get other people that lean in and say, oh, tell me more. I need something like that. Or can I get a Halloween costume?
Right,
or,
yes.
oh, that's such a great idea. The Kardashians use those as Easter baskets. I could do it for Easter, right?
Right.
And so I think what I want people to realize and think about is like, and obviously you chose not to make it, which is totally fine. But to pay attention to people that are giving you those signals of, I would like to buy this from you. Because I think so many times people hear it and like, oh, it's fine,
Right.
But there's so many opportunities that you can make money and sell your products. You just have to kind of keep your ear open and be a little bit more like you, I think, a little bit more like gutsy and just like, because you're not the most, you're shy and not the most outgoing and not the most forward person. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, like you have been able to exercise a muscle that doesn't always feel like your strongest muscle.
Right.
And so like put on your Lydia, like, like I let everyone feel like, okay, Jacqueline's mom, this isn't natural for her. We're very different in personalities, but if she can do it, so can I. And so that's what I kind of want people to think about and say, like, what opportunities are presenting themselves in front of me that I can say yes to that might lead to the next thing that you do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, I think you've been such an inspiration, and watching your journey as my mom, but also as a maker, like truly the people I speak to on the podcast, I always imagine you in my head. She's a mom, she's at home, she's creative, she has an awesome idea, she wants to do something with this, and she'd love to make money doing it because it could equal whatever you want to do with that money.
Right. Yeah.
Spending money, paying for your kids to go to preschool, getting someone to help you clean your house, buying a house, retiring your husband. I mean, the dreams can keep going, becoming millionaires, becoming multimillionaires. You start with like a small dream, but then when you start to see it, you're like, what could this business be? And how can it change my life or whatever. So watching your journey, I didn't think you were going to say you owned a business. So I was the most shocked.
I owned an Etsy business,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's my shop.
Your shop.
And that's the world right now. All the stores are closing down and everything's online. So
yeah. And while I don't teach Etsy, I love that it's a tool for people, especially makers, that it's like one of those first places out. But what you did that I'm really proud of you about is that you didn't go nuts with all the products, but rather you were like, oh, customized French market baskets.
Yeah, and it was your advice, just keep to that item, and I followed it, and it was good for me. And and I think if I had continued with the baskets, I could have gone to my own website, But we're doing other things right now.
We are doing other things.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because like you did it, and I think if I look at you from a cycle of like life cycle, I'm proud of you that you had the confidence actually to finally say like, I owned a business, and thank God for Etsy in the way that it gives a tool like that, a platform like that to reach customers, to get your products on, to do transactions, do all these things when otherwise back your previous self,
Right.
15 years ago, maybe 20, I don't know how old I am now, but you felt like you could not grow. So I think if we were ever in a time where women can have ideas, think about them, grow a business, reach an audience, and do these things.
Right.
Like,
you could chit chat to anybody, anywhere in the world now, you know, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Or
It's
you
now.
find somebody, you collaborate with someone that's doing the same similar item to yourself, and let's get together, let's grow it together, right? That's
Yeah.
also a great idea.
yeah. And so I think, so if you're ever going to take advantage of a time that we're in,
Right.
the time is now. And
Right.
things are only going to get better.
Oh yeah, everything's definitely gonna get better.
Yeah. And also just from I don't even think you've even gone into artificial intelligence yet, have you? Like AI.
I know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But like even like let's say you were still doing it and you wanted, because I remember you'd also be like, I need to post something on Instagram, and then I'd write it out for you.
Right. Oh, gee, I've got this unhappy customer. Blah blah blah. Jacqueline, what do I tell her?
So also whenever anyone's talking about like their Etsy customers, I know because I was your customer service department.
Right.
I'm like, this is how you sandwich a response. Or social media. I'm like, Mom, we need to put these up on Instagram and put a good caption. And so now there's
Right.
like even more tools than we had a couple of years ago when I was
Right.
kind of helping you with
Right.
the business. So I want to thank you for always being really supportive of me. I think I'm going to cry.
Oh, don't cry.
I would not have gone to art school if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have started Designer Consulting Co-op
No, you're gonna make me cry.
if it wasn't for you.
Well, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm your mom. I'm glad that I inspired you to be the person you know you knew you were gonna be. You know.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
you knew before I knew.
Right. I have a lot of faith in you, and I know you're gonna be huge. If you're not huge already, you're gonna be wonderful and successful, and you are.
Thank
You know you are. So everyone's gonna learn from you, daughter,
Thanks, Mom. I
because
love
you
you.
have so much knowledge to give.
Thank you. And thanks for, this was so uncomfortable for you, so thank you for being on the podcast.
You are welcome,
All right.
daughter. I
Love
love
you.
you.